Welcome, everybody, and thank you for joining us. My name is Brad Millette. I'm the Director of Digital Analytics and Insights here at BlastX. And I'm joined here by my illustrious colleague, Rupen Carpenter, who is the VP of Digital Experience. And we are super excited to talk to you about a subject that we're both extremely passionate about. And I hope that comes through in our presentation here. And that is about building customer loyalty, and specifically how we approach using zero-party data as a tool to further fuel that customer loyalty. And with that, I will hand it off to Rupa to get started.
All right, thank you so much, Brad. Well, first we're going to kick things off by having a quick little background about third-party cookies. I'm sure over the past several years, you've heard all about third-party cookies going away, the cookie apocalypse, name it as you shall. But the thing here is that third-party cookies, they've traditionally been used to be the primary driver of programmatic and digital advertising. The thing is that in the past couple of years, what we're seeing are increased privacy law, consent requirements. We're even seeing Chrome come out and saying that they're going to move away from third-party cookies, supporting that. They moved that deadline to 2024. And in our conversations with stakeholders, what we're seeing is confusion and uncertainty in terms of how do we move forward, and even whether should we do anything, right? Should we prioritize this? And this comes down to really understanding the impact for your organization. And the thing is that when we think about that, there really is no one-size-fits-all response here. It's really about understanding the context for your organization. So one of the things you want to make sure you're doing is that you're talking to your teams about the overall marketing strategy, right? Understanding what percentage of your efforts are really dedicated and focused on digital advertising, and more specifically for third-party cookies. The next thing you want to do is, at a very high level, understand the impact to your return on ad spend, which can be a little difficult to do. But that's why I'm actually excited today to introduce BlastX has created its own third-party cookie calculator. And don't worry, we're going to provide a link to this towards the end of our webinar so your team can use it. But what you can see here is a typical retail brand example. So for this particular company, you could see that they spend on average $21.5 million on digital advertising spend annually. But the thing is that third-party cookies doesn't impact all of that spend, right? We're really talking about campaigns that are more focused on display or retargeting. And you can see here for this particular company, that accounts for anywhere between 20 to 30% of their overall spend. So it's not a majority of it, right? And this is like a typical use case. So if you were to stop here, you might say, well, maybe this isn't a big deal. Maybe we can weather the storm, not really have to focus on it. So look at that estimated revenue at risk annually. And these are based on benchmark ROAS KPIs here. Almost $17 million that's going to be at risk here when third-party cookies go away. So this is the information you want to take back to the team and really have those discussions on whether we need to prioritize and find a solution now so we're prepared when third-party cookies actually go away. But here, we're really talking about the immediate business impact, right? As soon as third-party cookies go away. But there's something that's even bigger than this that we really need to take into consideration. It's that longer-term impact. And it's really about customer loyalty. I'm sure you all have seen, right? In the past few years, the customers are in control, and that's been accelerated definitely due to the pandemic. So to really think about customer loyalty, we need to put ourselves in the shoes of our customers. So what is it going to be like for them when third-party cookies go away? Well, you can see here, right? What's going to happen is there's going to be increased likelihood that they're going to be on the receiving end of generic ads. That's not going to meet their expectations. And it's definitely not going to enrich their relationship with your brand. Now, that term relationship is key here, because that's what it's about, winning with your customers. We're moving away from the transactional side of things and focusing on winning the relationship with them. Well, what else is going to happen here when third-party cookies go away? Well, the customer is going to be at risk of increased frustration and what I term brand exhaustion due to the lack of capabilities to control frequency targeting with third-party cookies going away. I liken this to the example like here. I love coupons. I love receiving those. But when my inbox gets inundated with coupons on a daily basis, those brands, it gets tiring. And that actually makes me less likely to want to interact with that brand. Well, that's the risk that's going to potentially happen here when third-party cookies go away. Now, we understand the risks, right? And we're trying to figure out what's that solution going forward. I'll say simply put, I mean, the answer is right in front of us. So consider this. Think at a high level here. Humans produce 2.5 quintillion bytes of data every day. That's around 1.7 megabytes created every second for every person on Earth. Very simply, this means that your company has a lot of data at its fingertips. The thing is that the average company only analyzes about 37 to 40% of the data it collects, less than 50% of what you have available, rendering much useless. So this is an opportunity we see here. Is you have data here. Let's see if we can use it, analyze it, and drive greater value for our customers here. The thing with data, though, is that there is a real conundrum here, right? So consider this. 53% of consumers say brands are not good at keeping them informed on how their data is used or protected. That's speaking to communication, transparency, privacy. Yet at the same time, 81% say they're willing to share personal data if they get something of value in return, like a personalized offering. So when we're thinking about the solution moving forward, we got to navigate both sides: privacy, transparency, and we absolutely need to make sure we do something with this data and give something of value in return here. Now, when we talk about data, not all data is created equal, right? So we want to quickly talk about the different data types. The first type here is first-party data, right? And this is the data that's collected about your customers through your own digital properties. Someone comes to your website, they navigate to a product listing page, that behavior being tracked, that's first-party data. So I'm sure you've heard with third-party cookies going away, everyone's saying, build the foundation with your first-party data. And absolutely at BlastX, we definitely want to stress that. You want to build that foundation. The second type here is second-party data. This is essentially someone else's first-party data that you acquire from a trusted partner. The next one is third-party data. And this is the type of data that is going to be severely impacted with third-party cookies going away. This is data acquired from a data aggregator, purchased from a DSP or marketplace. Now, when we think about winning the experience, really driving that strong relationship with customers going forward, it is this last data type, zero-party data, that's going to be the differentiator. Now, to be clear, zero-party data is a type of first-party data. What makes it unique is that it is the information that users intentionally, voluntarily provide to you. It might be they're telling you what they're interested in looking for, what type of content they like, dislikes. They may tell you where they are in their journey, may even share some points of friction. The main takeaway is they are providing that information to you. Now, if you ever get a chance to have a conversation to me, one of the things you'll probably hear me say is, zero-party data, that is gold for your organization. Because here's the thing with moving forward, we need to understand that we have to understand our customers more intimately. We got to be able to do that to create personalized experiences. And again, build loyalty, right? We're thinking about that relationship. And zero-party data is the best way to do that. Another thing to think about it, right? If a customer or a user is willing to tell you maybe about their dislikes, likes, personality, what have you, and when we think about this in the context of privacy, if they give this information to you, that is really signifying customer trust. But what is imperative here, if the customer does this, is that we create the value exchange, meaning we do something with it. The great thing about it is, personalizing the experience or what have you, the great thing here is that we don't need to infer what the customer wants or what their intentions are. They have told us this. So the way I think about it is that this type of data is the purest data or the highest quality data, which is going to be important because, again, we have to navigate the landscape of providing value, but also maintaining that privacy as well. So now that we understand the value of zero-party data, I think the best way to think about how do you move forward, it's really about embracing this mindset of how you're going to partner with your customers for personalized experiences. You're going to use zero-party data to personalize the experience on the fly. And now you might say, okay, Rupa, this is very easy to understand, makes sense. But you know what? A lot of organizations are not doing this yet. Why is that? It's because it's very hard to understand, how do you put this into action? It can be daunting. Like, do I have to invest in a whole bunch of additional MarTech to make this happen? Well, I'm excited to show you here our approach to zero-party data. And the key here is knowing where to start. Now, if you remember earlier, just a few minutes ago, I said the answer is right in front of us. Well, that's actually the first step here. You may not be aware of it, but within your digital experience, whether it's on-site and a mobile app, chances are you are already asking for and capturing zero-party data. So it's all about devoting some time and effort to saying, what are we doing with this zero-party data? How are we creating that value? So now we're going to walk through a couple different use cases just to highlight what you can do with the data you're already capturing within your digital experience. So I'm going to toss it over to Brad to walk us through the first use case.
All right. So as Rupa said, chances are you are already capturing some level of zero-party data on your website. And this can come in the form of many things. It could be surveys, quizzes, interactive games or videos, product registration, or in the case that I'll be focusing on today here on the next slide, we've got product finders. Now, these are similar to quizzes, and they are absolute goldmine for zero-party data. Depending on how sophisticated your tool is, you're getting everything from demographic data to product preferences and everything in between. But the question is, when we look at these things, is what is the actual impact of these experiences? What is the measurable business impact? And well, for one of our popular athletic gear clients, we wanted to answer exactly that question. And here is what we found. So customers who used these shoe finders showed a 13% increase in average order value, a 45% increase in conversion rate, and a 175% increase in customer lifetime value. Now, this is the beauty of these zero-party data experiences. Not only are we getting to know our customers, but we're making their experience better. And you can see that it is working based off of these numbers. And one of the things that I love about these numbers specifically is that not only do we see these impacts immediately with average order value and conversion rate, but we also see the long-term impacts with customer lifetime value. After all, zero-party data is all about building real and trusted relationships, as Rupa mentioned. But here, this is where, unfortunately, we started to see some less than ideal numbers. Even though this experience was so powerful, only about 2% of users across the site were even aware of it. So seeing these numbers, our next step was clear. Our next step was to simply get more customers into this experience to start. And this came in many forms. At first, it was very small, just a few CTAs here and there throughout the shopping funnel. As we saw continued success, we continued to expand, adding more things like homepage banners, featured spots in the main navigation, and more product listing page banners. And the results really were fantastic. So through our efforts, we saw about a 20% increase in traffic to this shoe finder, which makes sense. And as a result of this, we've seen about 10,000 orders totaling about 1.5 million in incremental revenue over the last 6 months. And it doesn't really show any signs of slowing down. This is really just barely scratching the surface of what's possible with this zero-party data. All we did here was analyze the user experience, identify the most compelling zero-party data experience that we already had, and decided to drive more customers to use this experience. But what Rupa is going to talk about next really begins to take this a step even further as we ask the question of what more can we do with this zero-party data that we are collecting.
All right, thank you, Brad. Well, first, I never get tired of seeing that use case. It gets me so excited because think about when people start to embrace and execute on a strategy, very rarely do you see that value coming back so quickly, right? And just doing a little bit more with the data, just analyzing a little bit, taking those insights and taking action on it. So love seeing that ROI, and I know that brand is just going to take it another level there as they really lean into zero-party data. What I get excited about in addition to that is saying, all right, we have this zero-party data we're capturing. How are we making the experience better for our users and our customers? Now, the one thing I do want to highlight when we talk about zero-party data in this strategy, it is not limited to retail. Think fintech, B2B, automotive, think about travel, and even healthcare, which is the use case we're going to dive into here. But just know that this strategy works across different industries. So let me introduce you to Mary here. Here's the one thing, when she comes to our site, here's a whole bunch of things that we don't know about her. She is quite the planner. She's excited. Retirement is, not too far away from her, but she wants to dot her I's, cross her T's. She's doing her due diligence. And so here specifically, she wants to make sure she's doing her research on healthcare coverage because she's going to be eligible for Medicare soon. Here's the other thing we don't know about Mary. She's not fully comfortable with doing her research online, but she gets it. She understands that this is the way of the future, so she's willing to give it a try. So let's see what happens with Mary. So Mary decides to head online to visit a healthcare provider in her state, Blast X Healthcare, Florida, to learn more about how to prepare for Medicare.
And just to interject here, of course, clearly BlastX Healthcare is a fictitious healthcare provider, but this is actually a real example from one of our clients, which is really awesome.
Exactly. Yeah. Please don't go search for healthcare or BlastX Healthcare. It doesn't exist, but absolutely, this is a very realistic experience that we're going to walk through here. So Mary gets to the homepage and she gets a little anxious because there's so much content available, really unsure where to go. But she sees this really big find a plan button. So she says, all right, let me click on it. Let's see what happens here. Well, after she clicks on the button, what do you see appear? It's a modal. It's asking, are you looking for individual and family plans or Medicare plans? Well, Mary's actually a little bit relieved here because she's saying, okay, now I have an opportunity to tell the brand what I am interested in. You want to know why I'm happy? It's because this is an opportunity for zero-party data. And so the cool thing here is that we're not introducing something new. This modal already existed as part of the experience, right? So what does Mary do? She sees Medicare, she says, all right, yep, that's the one I want. I'm going to go ahead, click through with confidence. So let's see what happens after that. So after Mary clicks through on that button, she gets taken to this next page. You can see very easily, even just by the headline here, it's going to meet her expectations, right? So this is a nice way to kind of personalize that immediate next step. The thing is that she kind of dives into the messaging a little bit more and she sees that big green button. She says, oh, wait, I'm not ready to choose a plan because I'm not going to be eligible until 2024. I just want to do my initial research right now. So she might decide to, backtrack there. She sees the logo at the top. She says, okay, well, let me just go back to the homepage, right? So what happens when she goes back to the homepage? Well, when she comes back to the homepage, unfortunately, she sees the same generic experience, right? And in fact, if Mary were to click on that find a plan button again, guess what happens? She's disappointed and she's frustrated because what she's going to see here is that modal again. So let's think about this in the context of the relationship, right? Not too long ago, maybe 5 minutes ago, Mary already answered this question. She voluntarily gave that. She was forming that relationship with this brand. But by serving this up again, we have pushed her back. And I liken this to like a real life example. Let's say you've gone to a networking event and you just met someone, you introduce yourself, you have small talk for about 5-10 minutes, and then you go on your own way. And then 30 minutes later, you come across each other again and they say, oh, hi, what's your name? Remember that feeling? Well, that's exactly what we did to Mary here. So to me, I see this as an opportunity to make her experience better. So how can we do that? Well, what if we leverage the insights we already captured about Mary to personalize her experience beyond the immediate next step? Because the one thing I see with brands, whether it's a product finder tool or something like this, we do a decent job of the next step, whether it's showing the right product recommendations or the messaging. The thing is that we want to make sure we can be there with her in stride as she goes deeper into her journey. So that's what we're looking for, those opportunities here. So what if instead of seeing that generic homepage experience, Mary saw this much more meaningful experience here? So what did we do to improve this experience? Well, the first thing is provide customized messaging to align with her interests. She's clearly stated she's looking for Medicare plans. Let's reiterate that back to her, that we understand that. Another thing we did here is use thoughtful imagery that resonates. So the previous example was of a young family, which is really nice, but doesn't really align to where Mary is in her own journey. What's another way to improve this experience? You could surface other actions that align with her journey. So the other time it was about go find your 2023 plan. If we know we have other resources that align with Medicare, maybe we can surface that up, like learning about different plan types. And the final thing we did here is leverage the existing resources that are already on the page. So that Medicare link on the left-hand side, it was already there. It was just pushed a little further down. So all we did is move it up to make it easy for Mary to find. Now, the one thing I want to highlight here, all the changes that we made to this experience is very simple to make. And in fact, what I would say, if you think about the typical MarTech ecosystem you have, it would be easy to execute this. Moreover, your approach to personalization here goes hand in hand with experimentation, right? And if we're thinking about getting ahead with customers, I'm sure you guys probably have an experimentation program. And if you don't, that is something you absolutely want to fast track and prioritize. Because what we can do is test all of these different elements out. And the benefit of testing and using this iterative approach is that you're going to be confident in knowing whether the content you put forward is actually providing a better experience to Mary and those in a similar journey, as well as knowing that this is having a positive impact on your company's KPIs. So hopefully you can see just with this example, it's very easy to go just even a step further. And again, we're using the zero-party data that's already available on your site, not an extra investment in MarTech. And so it's pretty cool to see the value there, but I know we want to take it one step further. I know Brad's excited to take that next step with you, so I'm going to toss it over to him.
All right. So this next step in utilizing zero-party data is where we really start to get a little bit more advanced. And we begin to identify unobtrusive ways to gather more zero-party data and immediately turn around and use it to personalize the user experience. So let's start with this example here. We will meet John. Similar to Mary, we don't know John. What we don't know about him is he runs trails on the weekends. He loves to play pickup basketball games every Thursday. And we don't know that he values utility and value over style. And because we don't know these things about him, he's simply just another anonymous visitor. All of that makes him, all of the things that make him unique have been stripped away. And now he's no longer John when he visits this website. He's simply the lowest common denominator. And his experience is entirely untouched and unpersonalized, and just like everybody else who comes to visit the site. Now, one day, John is browsing several athletic apparel sites. He's shopping specifically for a new pair of trail running shoes to replace his current and beat up pair that he uses. And he finds our website, blastxrunningshoes.com, and he decides to explore around a little bit.
And disclaimer here too, Brad, this is also a fictitious site, although those shoes look really cool. It doesn't exist right now.
Unfortunately, we do not make the Evolve 15s yet as our BlastX shoes, but maybe one day. But if you remember what I said before, we know that this shoe finder is a great customer experience. The numbers have bear that out. But of course, for new visitors, the last thing that you want to see as soon as you get to a brand new site, as you're trying to figure out if their products are even for you, is a 50-page questionnaire. And as I said before, we're trying to build trusting relationships with our customers. So imagine showing up on a first date with a book of questions, and you proceed to immediately pepper your date with question after question after question. Just like you may not get a second date here, you may not get a second page view from John if that is the way that you treat him. So what if instead of interrogating John as soon as we meet him, what if we partner with him to build his preferences dynamically and seamlessly as he browses the site? So we can do this in a number of different ways. One simple way is through some single page interactions. So for example, if he goes into the navigation and he's navigating around and he makes his way to the athletic apparel part of the site, we can present him with a question such as this: are you interested in athletic apparel? Would you like us to show you more of these products throughout your visit? Just like Rupa said in her example with Mary, we can test several versions of this messaging to find the one that is the least abrasive and yields the most positive results. Another option here is to use the power of chatbots. So let's say that John navigates back to the homepage after some browsing and he gets a message from the chatbot that says, it's asking him, what have you come to the site for today? He types into the chatbot, I'm looking, men's trail running shoes on sale. That's what I'm looking for. You can click through, I think on the next two here. From this simple response, just what he input into that chatbot, we already know a ton of information about him. We've just gathered a bunch. We know that he's a male runner. He specifically is one who runs on trails. We know that he's looking for shoes that are on sale. So he might not be interested in our most cutting edge or new products. And it would probably be better for us to show him last year's models rather, or maybe ones that are already discontinued rather than the brand new shoe that just came out. So we've uncovered a lot of information about John in a very short period of time now. And we've done so by allowing him to browse throughout the website and leave us nuggets of zero-party data along the way. We can take that information and begin to look ahead, not just to his next page view, but several pages after that, and curate the banners that he sees, curate the blog posts that are featured on different parts of the site, the products that we surface at the top of product category pages as part of our recommended options. As John is browsing the site, we're getting to know him better, and we show him that we're listening to him along the way as we rapidly work towards an individualization and make this relationship one that will last. And one thing to note here is, this is all stuff that can be done whether or not they are authenticated on the site at this moment. That's something that we can absolutely do. Not necessarily across device. That would be a situation where we may want to have an authenticated experience. But even if they're unauthenticated, cross session can be done within with very simple tools that you may already have at your disposal. And just a little nugget is something that we are exploring right now, is even the ability to personalize the experience using zero-party data for somebody who has opted out of tracking. So even if we're not tracking them, we can still personalize for them. And I'll just leave that little nugget, something that is interesting that we are actively working on. So as we've seen here today, zero-party data is the key that unlocks rapid individualization. It empowers customers to be in control of their experience, the experience that is in front of them. And it promotes loyalty by showing an exchange in value as customers provide an investment of intimacy by willingly offering up direct insights into their preferences in exchange for an experience that they can see themselves in. So what do we do now? So as you leave this webinar and go back to your business as usual, what are some things that you should do right away? I would say you should really start by taking a look at our calculator to start to recognize how much of your revenue is potentially at risk with third-party cookies going away. This can be an eye-opening experience and can really help get some institutional buy-in for the next steps. Next, I would say ensure that your teams are actively planning to use zero-party data. With third-party cookies going away, it's really time to shift focus from using third-party cookies and third-party websites to do the learning about your customers for you, to build these relevant marketing experiences. It's time to start looking inward at your website or your app or digital experience and looking at that as the hub for all of this information. This is where you're going to gather that first and zero-party data. And this is where you're going to use that data to inform your marketing and retargeting. And lastly, like I said, Rupa and I are super passionate about this topic, and we're not alone. We at BlastX love finding new ways to surprise and delight our customers. So definitely don't hesitate to reach out to us on either LinkedIn or Measure Slack And we would just love to discuss this in any way that we can and help create and execute better zero-party data strategies.
Thank you, Brad. And just reiterating what you said, absolutely want to keep this conversation going. Love this. We absolutely love this stuff. So if you're interested, you have our emails here. Find us on LinkedIn. We'll be happy to continue that conversation. So thank you for your time, everyone. We hope you enjoy the content. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out.